Awesome, cool. Right, hi all. So, aware that it's been a long day, it's been a long week. This room is noisy as fuck, so I'll do a lot of shouting. If no one can hear me at the back, just, yeah, raise a hand and I'll try and shout louder. But today we're basically going to talk about like how we at cheqd and creds are trying to eliminate scamming in Discord. Eliminate scamming across Discord and Telegram. Hopefully this will be interesting. And we're also upstairs, and as Danny kind of mentioned, we've got a load of POAPs, a load of credentials that you can claim across the days, including workshops yesterday, stuff for just attendees. And if you're hitting issues with any of those, we're upstairs. Cool. So what we're going to cover off, the problem, which is pretty self-evident, which is a huge amount of scamming across Telegram and Discord. Like, a lot of people in here will have had those messages. I'll give some examples. But also, it's just an endemic problem. If I go back. Introducing creds. So those are the QR codes that you've seen like scattered around all over the place. They'll prove you're here. I think they're going to be used for a prize draw tomorrow, so actually make sure you do it. And also used for various things in the future. How it works, obviously, interesting. And then also how we've like integrated and built this into Telegram. And also I can give references to how it works in Discord as well. And some roadmap and how to get involved. So without further ado, cool. So again, it's a problem. It's a massive problem. There's next slide is how much money disappears. But these are just a few examples of just how endemic this problem is and how impactful it is. And I think one of the things that gets lost is, like, this shapes the opinion of the outside world of crypto and Web3. The fact that there is such like high scamming, even though the same thing goes on in fiat, it just like crypto and Web3 just gets hammered for the same thing. And one of the additional things that we've seen recently is that that trend is going to get worse with things like generative AI, ChatGPT, where you can generate massive amounts of content and just use that to scam people. Scammers. It's always a cat and mouse game with scams. And so therefore, like, as soon as a tool is out, they start using it. So everyone in here will have a version of this somewhere in their Telegram or Discord, especially if you're running a layer one. A lot of them are like fake exchanges approaching people, people pretending to be like C-suite of companies, trying to get money from you. And the reality is they're crude, but they work. I know there are people in this room who have fallen to some of these scams. Not going to name who they are, but like it's proof that this is a problem and it does happen. And it's why they carry on doing it. And this then steps into like the numbers of all of this. So if you look at the sheer amount of scams, this was just reported to the US, it works out at around $1 billion a year, which is pretty chunky when you look at like even the TVL of like crypto in general. But it's just damaging. It's massively damaging. But I think the one that surprised me when I was looking through these numbers was I thought that it would be mostly like basically fake exchanges, people pretending to be C-suite. But actually, by far and away, the biggest like damage is rugs, by far. Like that's really where big sums of money disappear. And so, like one of the things that we were looking at when we were building creds out is how can we build trust while staying anon or like a worse, pseudonymous? How can we make that possible? And then on the more positive side of things, the good thing with all of this is we focus very much on building for like security, privacy, like eliminating all the scamming stuff. At the same time, the exact same tech can be used for like engagement, for rewarding people, to build up positive stuff. Like every speaker who's been through today will get a credential. Every volunteer will get a credential. The people who went through the workshops yesterday will get them. And especially with the workshops, that then proves like some knowledge, some like proficiency that maybe you can turn into a career or a CV. And so you can start to move this into gamification, which, as the numbers on both the left and the right-hand side show, like it's big numbers and they make a difference in terms of like engagement, adoption, and even revenue. So as much as we built this for security, it's also entirely usable for like just driving engagement. So very proud to announce today with Nebular that we're actually announcing the release of creds. It's very much focused right now on like POAPs for attendance, but over the coming months, we'll be opening this up so anyone can start issuing. So any other project, any DAO, any organization could start issuing those credentials, but also start having those integrations with Telegram and Discord where you can eliminate that scamming, protect your communities, and just stop this endemic problem that we have. And the key thing, obviously, is the tagline. So your reputation, portable, private, and secure. Cool. So let's start with the user view. So anyone who scans a QR code has probably been through this already. But ultimately, it just looks a lot like NFTs, but private. So the ability to go in, see what you're eligible for, what you can claim, and just be able to bring those into your wallet. As you can see on my right, your left, these could be anything. They could be social profiles, they could be roles. You can also get different issuers. So right now, we've got ourselves, Creds, and Nebular. Like I was saying, over the next couple of months, we're going to be opening that up so anyone can do this. Anyone can get involved. Anyone can issue those out. And one of the best things is you can also mix those together. So what that means is I can combine credentials from various different projects, various different roles, or various different events in any combination I choose and share them to different people. So what that means is you can just build up that reputation over time. It's not tied to a single organization. It's not tied to a single centralized authority. You can build that up from anywhere. You can choose what data comes in. So one of the examples of this is if you scan the one on my right, you'll find that it's got my speaker credential. It's also got the fact that I work for cheqd, the fact that I have some knowledge. If you scan the one on my left and your right, you'll find that it's just that I'm an attendee. And if I don't share the same credential to the same people, there's no linkage. So I can just maintain complete privacy and anonymity or pseudonymity by just not sharing the same data with people. There's no correlation problem. And so compared to NFTs or SBTs, you maintain much stronger privacy. And also, this is completely customizable. So you can build up, again, any combination of these. So afterwards, if you want to come up and test that out, we can actually prove that that works. I'll just scan the QR codes now. So this is a creator view. So this is on the more, I guess, similar to NFT side, actually creating credentials, issuing them out, allowing people to go and collect them. And this is under development right now. So if you're interested in where we're going and want to help us out, get in touch, and we're up in the booth upstairs. We're looking for user feedback. We actually want to be able to work with people to shape it out. And I can see Ross, our product owner at the back, we'll actively work with you to go make it work for you and make it super slick. And this is how easy it is. It's basically going to be 3 steps. So first thing, just select a credential type. So this just templates out, is it a role? Is it an event? Is it a ticket? Is it learn? Or is it something that we haven't built yet? In which case, this is the point. Come get in touch. Next thing, just enter some details. Pretty quick, everything's templated out. Enter that content. Everything that isn't dynamic will get populated. And then the final thing is literally upload a CSV. You just need, unique identifiers or handles, the type of credential you're issuing to, and also whether you're issuing, revoking a credential, suspending a credential, or deleting it. And this is one of the key differentiators here. You can suspend someone's credential. So let's say, or revoke it. So a great example would be, I work at cheqd currently. If I was to leave in the future, someone could revoke that credential. That would allow me to still prove that I worked at cheqd, but not that I'm currently employed. And so that way you can actually build up a CV that's verifiable that you can take pretty much anywhere. And in the same vein, we can suspend credentials. So if there's some worry about is this person acting unethically as an ambassador, then we can suspend them for a time. And that is actually visible inside the credential that can be checked and basically just provides another layer of protection. And so these are just a quick overview of the different types of credentials. So I left Ross's picture in rather than mine because I thought I'd stitch him up. But you've got, if I go, my right to left, your left to right, you've got social profiles. So these will be anchored to your Telegram, your Discord, your GitHub, your Twitter. But you can share them across any channel, so you're not having to do it within the channel anymore. Roles. So are you an ambassador? Are you a team member? Are you C-suite? Are you in BD? What is your role inside that project, and what are you therefore empowered to do? Endorsements. So this is something I would love to see is projects endorsing each other so we can get rid of people who are bad actors. If you're missing endorsements from people, and this is built up over time, you don't have the same level of reputation as someone who has got multiple people endorsing them either for a skill or delivery or just something. And finally, so tickets. So I think this is something that, like, obviously the guys at OmniFlix have built something fantastic out of. You can have the similar use case, and then we can back them off to, let's say you want to make an event which is only accessible to people who have contributed to your project over time. That's something that all of this works with, where you can prove that you've done this consistently over time, achieved a reputation, and therefore you're eligible for tickets at a discount that maybe other people aren't. And on the flip side, so this is some of the stuff that we've maybe like actually launched out over this week. So things like POAPs, obviously very similar to NFTs, but private. You don't need to show them off if you don't want to, and then they become available. Learning credentials. So the workshops yesterday, do you want to demonstrate that you went through a tutorial, that you went through a quiz, that you went through a workshop? Is that relevant for a job that you're about to kind of go for? Achievements. Were you early into a community? Are you a whale? Do you want to be able to show that off without also doxing the address that is tied to that? That's something we're able to do. So you're able to prove that, like, I own something within a set without actually giving away any of the details of exactly that address. And I guess the final side is what I was reiterating earlier. Like, is there something we're missing? Like, is there a credential that you want to build out? Like, we know from some of the guys in other projects, they want to be issuing carbon credentials. They want to issue credentials to show that projects have offset their projects. Offset their carbon and their energy usage, and they want to be able to demonstrate that elsewhere. So how does this work? So, okay, this is where I can kind of get into the real more technical side of things, which obviously Nebular is about. So under the hood of creds, we're using digital credentials or verifiable credentials. So this is very along the lines of like decentralized ID, self-sovereign ID. The data is under your control. It's under your ownership. And therefore, what we've essentially got is someone issuing or creating credentials, someone receiving or verifying that data, but individually, everything is under the control of the holder. So what that means is, like, you get that control, that privacy, and that's why we have that model where I can decide what I share and who to, in what combination, in a way that you just can't with NFTs or SPTs. And under all of this, so we mentioned at the top, we're from cheqd, but the actual, sum of the application on top, we're calling creds, and the ability to, have that whole user interface and have that control. The beauty of the system is, again, all that data routes off Ledger. So what that means is super private. No one can see it unless you share it. But also the volumes and the scale that we can do are just absolutely colossal. Because we're not tied one-to-one to the Ledger, we can get huge numbers of credentials out to people in a very, very quick way that's very, very efficient. Ultimately, when that data arrives at the other end, they can check the cryptography against the ledger. And again, if anyone has any more technical questions, we're up at the booth, and Anka from our team ran a session this morning which delved into more of the specifications, all that kind of stuff. And if that's recorded, hopefully everyone will be able to go and check that out. But the main focus of this, so this is where I want to spend probably more time than any other slide. So this is actually how we built this into Telegram. So there's a lot of text on here. I'm hoping this is recorded so we can share it afterwards. But the whole focus here is that, I should be able to verify someone and who they work for and what they do without needing to leave the channel that I'm interacting with them in. So in this scenario, what we've done is blended credentials and Telegram so that we can start proving identity without leaving that channel. And ultimately, there's a load of complex steps on the left or right-hand side. But really what it boils down to is, I, for example, could message anyone in the audience here. They could forward that message onto a bot that we have, and that bot, in turn, will ask me for a set of credentials. And if I can't present the right ones, it will give you a warning flag and say, basically, don't engage. So the whole onus here is on whoever is messaging and initiating contact and trying to kind of do the scam or initiate the relationship has to prove who they are. They have to be able to prove who they work for, what their role is, why you're interacting with them. And the whole idea here is we can just eliminate that low level, which is people just doing mass messaging, trying to catch people out, pretending they're exchanges. So the user journey on Telegram is super slick. We're in the process of rolling it out. It should be available in the next couple of weeks. And we're doing the same thing in Discord. Discord obviously is, again, a hotbed of scamming. And we really need to go and get this sorted out. So in probably a week or two, we'll be announcing that this is out. From then, that point onwards, anyone that our team messages, like, use this. Like, check our credentials out, make sure that it works. Like, challenge us, ask for the credentials that we should have. And if you're getting messaged by someone who is pretend to be us, they won't be able to fulfill this anymore. And that's the beauty of this. And obviously, like I was saying, the focus on this kind of session has been getting those credentials out the door, like getting these POAPs, like launching this properly. Over the next month, we'll be working on issuance and actually rolling this out for any other project who wants to use this. And so again, like if anyone wants to come to us and help us shape that user journey, shape those credentials, and help protect our communities, get in touch, because that's exactly what we're here for. So I've only got 4 minutes left, so I'll go through the roadmap really quickly. And that covers off like a lot of what I've already started discussing. So obviously the biggest thing I mentioned was a creator admin dashboard. So that's for, say, your community managers. It's for anyone in BD who wants to be able to prove who they are. But also then moving down into like Telegram and Discord integration. So exactly what I just kind of explained earlier. The ability to check who someone is without needing to leave that channel at all. One of the things that the whole purpose of cheqd, which has ended up in this demo, is building out payment infrastructure for decentralized ID and credentials. So what that means is the ability to, if someone issues a credential, get paid whenever that credential is used in the future. So for anyone in this room who was like wanting to issue POAPs, wanting to issue learning credentials or role credentials, we can actually set this up so that there's a recurring model where those are paid for. And that'll be built into Cred, so it's just seamless. And one of the things that's like probably reasonably immediate is gamification. So for example, how many, like, were you within the first 5 of whatever it is? Were you the first person to collect that credential? Does that give you something that is even more like niche or like constrained than someone who just has that credential in the first place? But also, how many times have you shared that? How many times have you shared that credential? And I think at some point, either me or Danny will be explaining that like, sharing these credentials is going to be part, I think, of a prize draw tomorrow, hence the drive for like collecting these things, sharing them around. But then we go into like Q4 and beyond, which is like use case specific functionality, trusted creator list. So what that means with a trusted creator list is no one can impersonate you. There can't be someone who spins up like a cheqd copycat and manages to get through that. Similarly, the ability to have a configurable decentralized reputation. So what we mean by that is the ability for someone to say, okay, like I'm running, I don't know, a new event, and I want to set some level or some expectation of the credentials that people have who will attend, and make that completely dynamic, or it could be peer-to-peer. So what that would mean is, like maybe I need KYC because I'm a DeFi exchange or I'm a bank, one of those two. On the other hand, I might just be operating with someone peer-to-peer. I don't care anything about KYC. All I need to know is, do they own their own handle? Is that accurate? Have they been part of the DAO that I'm part of for like the long enough time? Have we like built this established trust that is usable for that interaction? And then a newsfeed, so linked to like having a profile page. Like if you're sharing things publicly, actually showing that being shared, like actually as public. And then once we're beyond this, we're into like more of the longer term stuff. So obviously a big focus on this is it's enable for community, which obviously gets tightly closed in with like marketing and that side of things. So building out campaigns, like how are those behaving? How are the credentials you're issuing being kind of tracked? So like, how are they being collected? Are they being collected early? Like what is the revenue on certain credentials? How does that break down by type? And similar on the analytics board, like again, how are they breaking down by type? How do you filter that out? How do you know what is working and what isn't working? Do you know that you're protecting your users? Are you still vulnerable to what we were saying earlier? And then getting into things like gating, avatars, and also connecting in different data sources. So we know a lot of Cosmos projects use, for example, Zeely. And so, for example, like hooking in with Zeely or Layer 3, that kind of thing, where you can bring in your rank, your leadership, and all those kind of things, so that you can actually build that reputation up across projects and be able to share it dynamically. So, final slide, which is perfect, so I've got 50 seconds left, although I can't see Danny. So, basically, if you want to go and collect these, there's the thing on your right-hand side. So just scan that QR code. This will prove that you basically attended this. There's QR codes dotted around all of the, basically the entire venue, which is for actually going and collecting just proof that you were an attendee. And if you want to come and actually shape how this is going to get built out, shape out the journey, either come up to the booth or drop us a note at the partnerships email down there. And I mean, ultimately, all of this is about protecting people and engaging them. And hopefully that's something we could all kind of get behind and deliver upon. And without further ado, I'll hand you all back to Danny in the next session. And thanks for your time. All the best.